What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which governs cross-strait issues, is warning the public about the rising risk of traveling to China. Council Minister Chiu Cui-zhen has told lawmakers that in just under a year and a half since last January, the agency received 89 reports of Taiwanese people who have gone missing or are suspected of being detained in China, and 13 more cases of Taiwanese being temporarily held and interrogated in China. China considers Taiwan part of its territory. It issued a set of guidelines last year to punish what it calls die-hard Taiwan separatists. As China ramps up its military activities around Taiwan, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has told a Senate hearing that deterrence and alliances remain key to Taiwan's security.
And I think deterrence obviously begins with Taiwan's own self-defense capabilities. And the harder they are to take militarily, the more time I think they buy for themselves in that regard. I think it continues by having a credible regional deterrent, not just the United States, but Japan and other allied countries around the world.
Rubio's comments come as Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te marked his first year in office, prompting China to reiterate that unification across the Taiwan Strait is inevitable. Beijing also performed landing drills on China's Fujian coast on the day of the anniversary. Taipei is still on high alert for any larger response. The U.S.'s top diplomat also said regional security in the Indo-Pacific hinges on stability worldwide.
We have to understand that anytime there's a conflict in the Middle East or a conflict in Europe or what have you, that we have to dedicate resources and time to that. That's time and resources that we're not dedicating to the Indo-Pacific.
During the Senate hearing, Rubio stressed that the top priority now is ending the war in Ukraine so that more resources can be used to resolve long-term issues in the Indo-Pacific. Taiwan's foreign minister has discussed trade talks with the U.S., saying that while U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff policies remain uncertain, Taiwan is working on minimizing the trade deficit and increasing investment in the U.S. Foreign Minister Ling Jialong's comments follow bilateral trade talks as Taiwan seeks to minimize potential U.S. tariffs on its goods. He also emphasized that Taiwan could expand its industries into other markets.
就是说，有一些是会到第三地了，不可能每个产品都在美国制造，美国是把 AI 这个作为一个重点。
U.S. President Donald Trump had placed 32% import tariffs on most Taiwan goods, but then suspended the plan for 90 days. International pressure is mounting on Israel to end its expanded military offensive on Gaza. The UK and European Union have announced measures distancing themselves from the country after Britain, France, and Canada released a joint statement condemning the, quote, wholly disproportionate escalation. Rosie Greninger has this story.
In droves, Palestinians in Khan Yunis heed a warning from the Israeli army to flee their homes. This as Israel expands its ground offensive into the Gaza Strip in pursuit of Hamas. The UK is calling it a dark new phase in the war and has taken action against Israel.
I'm announcing that we have suspended negotiations with this Israeli government on a new free trade agreement. We will be reviewing cooperation with them under the 2030 bilateral roadmap. The Netanyahu's government's actions have made this necessary.
The European Union has also announced it will review its relationship with Israel, calling the situation in Gaza, quote, catastrophic. This, a day after the UK, France and Canada threatened to take concrete actions against Israel if the country does not halt its fresh offensive and continues to block aid from entering Gaza. The joint statement was signed by leaders Mark Carney, Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer.
As set out in my statement with President Macron and Prime Minister Carney last night. And I want to put on record today that we're horrified by the escalation from Israel. We repeat our demand for a ceasefire as the only way to free the hostages. We repeat our opposition to settlements in the West Bank. And we repeat our demand to massively scale up humanitarian assistance into Gaza.
Israel has now eased its complete blockade of the territory after it halted the flow of humanitarian aid for 11 weeks. The United Nations says a handful of trucks have so far been let into the strip, but far more supplies are needed as humanitarian groups warn of a looming famine in the enclave of 2.3 million people. There has been an extreme shortage of essential goods in Gaza since the resurgence of the war, including food, water and medical supplies.
حياة صعبة بشكل يعني بنسمع عن اللي بيجي تسع سيارات اللي بقول لك 12 سيارة وكله كذب يعني مش مبين علينا أي شيء بمرق علينا والله ما في حالتنا حاجة.
Despite the desperate situation in Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has condemned the leaders of France, Britain and Canada, suggesting in a social media post that they are offering a huge prize to Hamas and continued to press for total victory in Gaza. The country's intensified air and ground attacks on the enclave, killing more than 460 people in the past week, according to Palestinian health authorities. Nearly 53,000 people have been killed in Gaza in the past year and a half of war. And Israel is ignoring calls to pull back on its offensive.
אנחנו פועלים לפי תוכנית סדורה ועוברים לשלב הבא. חמאס ישלם את מחיר סרבנותו. הוא יתקל בעוצמת אש. נרחיב את התמרון, נכבוש שטחים נוספים, נתאר ונשמיד את תשתיות הטרור עד להכרעתו.
For those struggling to survive in what's left of war-torn Gaza, this means more displacement and destruction lie ahead, as international pressure fails to make any breakthrough in the escalating conflict. James Lin and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
At a packed, closed-door press conference in Taipei, geopolitics took center stage as NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang addressed the media alongside the Computex trade show. Cameras were not allowed, but our reporter Chris Gorin was there and has the inside scoop.
There's one undeniable star at this year's Computex, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, and he had a lot to say about China and U.S. export controls at a Q&A on the sidelines of the show here in Taipei. Now, while audio and video recording was not allowed inside during the press conference, he did address reporters outside the venue, and he was asked about his opinion on U.S. tariffs.
What's your opinion?
I don't have an opinion on that. I think there's a resetting of the trade around the world, and whenever it settles down, the industry will readjust, and so I have every confidence things will work out.
He did have a lot of opinions about U.S. export controls and AI rules, however. On AI rules limiting the export of U.S. chips to many countries that were recently paused by U.S. President Donald Trump, he was very definitive. He says the policy was wrong. He says AI's spread around the world should be maximized, not minimized. And he thanked the U.S. president for pausing the rules, saying that Trump knows the race is on and that the U.S. should win it. On export controls, which Trump has continued to enforce, he was also critical, but did not criticize the president directly. He says the rules caused NVIDIA to lose billions of U.S. dollars, and he was very adamant that China was an important market. He says 50% of AI researchers come from China, and that the AI market is worth $50 billion, and it would be a shame to lose those dollars to companies like Huawei, which he called one of the most formidable in the world. And when asked about a previously unconfirmed Shanghai R&D center, he downplayed it, saying that they are just leasing a bigger building there. And that's similar to what he had to say about NVIDIA's newly announced expanded Taipei office known as Constellation. When asked if the new office sent a message to the world about Taiwan, he joked that he just needed more chairs. But he did say that stability in the region was important. Huang also said the AI industry needs government support to build more energy infrastructure of all kinds, including nuclear. He did not name Taiwan specifically, but nuclear power is highly divisive here, with the country's last reactor being decommissioned just last week. So as NVIDIA continues to promote the expansion of AI infrastructure across the world, it's clear that Mr. Huang wants to leave everywhere open for business. John Su, Klein Wang, and Chris Gorin in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan and India are strengthening their business ties, with India sending its largest ever state-level delegation to an investment forum in Taipei. Government officials from 4 Indian states spoke at the event, highlighting opportunities for Taiwanese companies to invest in India. In recent years, major Taiwanese firms like Foxconn and Pegatron have expanded their manufacturing bases there. Now, Indian officials are hoping to bring in even more Taiwanese investment.
We have a lot of Japanese companies, a lot of Korean companies already operating, few Taiwanese companies, but I think that is going to change. This forum today and in subsequent engagement with the Taiwanese companies, we really want to make it really worthwhile and really take this to the next level of investment for all.
Trade between Taiwan and India is on the rise, growing from just over $8 billion in 2023 to more than $10.5 billion in 2024. Gardening enthusiasts in India's cities are finding new ways to bring nature into people's homes and promote sustainable living in dense urban environments. Miriam Brunner tells us more.
India is among the countries most affected by rapid industrialization and climate change. It struggles with air pollution, rising temperatures, and topsoil erosion. Social inequalities are driving people out of rural areas and into sprawling urban centers, adding pressure on India's major cities, with some of the worst air quality levels in the world. It's an environment ripe for new solutions. Sustainability expert Kunal Jagdale sees urban gardening as an ideal way to decarbonize households.
It's an additional layer on your roof where it acts as an insulation to the heat that is being transferred inside the house. So it reduces, as I said, 5 to 7 degrees of Celsius. It will reduce heat that is coming inside the house. And apparently, if heat is coming less, you will need lesser AC.
Based in Delhi, the world's second largest city, Mayank Sharma has turned his green thumb into a thriving business. He started his journey over a decade ago to cope with the death of his father, also a gardener. Now he has found success online, captivating over 300,000 followers on Instagram. He uses social media platforms to promote sustainability, educating viewers on how to transform their rooftops into mini gardens.
Imagine a Delhi where an aircraft lands or a drone flies by and there's no terrace which is not green, right? Which is not having fruit plants, vegetable plants. That'll be beautiful, right? And that's the idea behind all of this.
But gardening isn't just about living sustainably. As Mayank Sharma's story shows, it can also be a tool for healing. The founder of a business called The Greenish Affair, Aditi Qatar, shares how greenery helped her deal with mental health struggles and hopes to inspire others to do the same.
People actually started getting plants home because they come with the least responsibility as compared to pets and kids. So I started my journey like that only because I used to find my happiness here. I used to share it with the people, and I wanted people to know that how plants can actually help you overcome your stress or anxiety, or in my case it was postpartum depression.
Terrace by terrace, roof by roof, these people are working to make urban Indian households more sustainable, inspiring others to add a touch of green to concrete spaces, improving their cities and their mental well-being. Joseph Wu and Miriam Brunner for TaiwanPlus.
Japan has seized a Taiwanese fishing boat that was found trespassing near Yonaguni Island. Japanese authorities are holding the captain and a crew of 5 along with the boat. Taiwan's fisheries agency is preparing a payment of about $20,000 to secure their release. The agency says the ship sailed beyond Taiwan's law enforcement area, and it will conduct its own investigation into what happened after the crew is returned to Taiwan. And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. As always, you can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, let's take a look at the Digital Art Awards exhibition on display in London. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.